This podcast is for people who know that the workplace can and should be better and are ready to do something about it. You will learn practical ways to change organizational cultures and human behavior without buzzwords, without box ticking, without performative leadership. I am the boss of Prina Shah Consulting, working with executives, leaders, and teams to create work cultures and environments that actually work for people. I am Prina Shah. I specialize in organizational culture change and human behavior change. I am all about making work better with people who give a damn. So if you think I can help, contact me via LinkedIn. I am here to help you to find decent ways to change the workplace. Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ways to Change Your Workplace podcast with me, your host, Prina Shah. And I am bringing back someone who you clearly love a lot, who is Dr. Vish Ramakonar. Now, Vish does all sorts of stuff in change management, in neuroscience, in project management, loads of facilitation. Vish is someone who I trust at length with all things change and change management. Today, I really want to talk to you, Vish, about something that's quite different and not really linked to change or change management. Some people might think it's quite woo-woo as well. We've had a chat about this, and thank you so much for saying yes, that you are willing to talk to us about this. The thing I want to talk to Vish about today is about trusting your gut more. Vish, what did you think about this topic when I put this forward to you?
You know what, Prina? I really resonate with this topic because this is how I live my life now. So,
yes.
Makes a lot of sense.
And we've had a couple of cool conversations in relation to trusting our own guts. You know, the lunch I had with you was just really, really insightful in the way that you think. So I think you'd be a brilliant person to talk about this. Now, the reason I want to talk to you about as well, about this, full disclosure. So I do executive coaching with many a brilliant person at the height of their career, Vish. I know you do brilliant work with people at the apex of their careers as well. And something that I hear repeatedly is, Prina, damn, I wish I'd trusted my gut more. I wish I'd listened to those instincts. I wish I'd done that thing that I thought I should have done. But there's just something with people that just stops them from trusting their gut more or listening to their intuition. I don't know what you want to call it. How do you professionally define trusting your gut, I guess, Vish? Where do we begin with this? I'm going to hand it over to you. Where do we begin, Vish?
Right. It's a very interesting topic. And to sort of try and give you something practical to hold on to with relation to this, I'm going to share with you a study done by the Heart Math Institute. So one of the programs that I run is based on the work by the Heart Math Institute. We incorporate it into the programs that Dr. Joe Dispenza has written. And one of the research studies that they did was, to give you context, the Heart Math Institute studies the workings of the heart, the physical heart, and its effect on how the effect it has on our nervous system, and how we handle challenging situations, how we can become more resilient, and how it can influence our brain to work in more optimal states, because they found that the heart sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. And so so to give a background, when you're feeling calm, when you're feeling peaceful, if you're feeling grateful, your heart is beating in a very coherent or orderly way.
Yeah.
And therefore the signals going to the brain, they've discovered, are also very orderly, and your brain works in a more coherent way. So you're able to solve problems better, you're able to communicate better, you're able to find innovative solutions, you're more creative. So those are the benefits. And but the converse is also true, where they found that when you're living by emotions of frustration, anger, anxiety, all of those things, the heart beats in a very erratic way or incoherently, and therefore incoherent signals are going into the brain, and the brain starts to fire very incoherently, which means it is, they call it cortical inhibition, where we're not working in the optimal brainwave or brain state. So these techniques are taught to US Navy SEALs, elite Olympic athletes, the military, first responders, Mayo Clinic. So they obviously people who have to be working in very stressful situations need to be able to think clearly, make proper decisions, and be able to handle or navigate those challenging situations.
Yeah.
So one of the studies that they did, and funny enough, linked to intuition, is they there's a couple of studies. The first one was I think with a university in Australia. Actually, you can find some of their papers on the website, the HeartMath Institute.
Cool.
And I think they looked at the repeat entrepreneur study. So they were studying entrepreneurs, what they call repeat entrepreneurs, who constantly have new ideas and who are very successful at starting up a business and things like that. And they found that 80% of them said that they were making decisions based on their gut instinct or based on intuition.
Aha.
So that was one interesting study. And the other is where they hooked up, I think it was 26 people, and they divided them into two. And they were taught the techniques, the HeartMath breathing techniques. And they hooked them up so they were measuring brain waves, they were measuring the heart, they had heart rate monitors on, they were measuring, I think, temperature of the skin, a few markers they were keeping track of. And they were sitting in front of a computer with a random image generator. And so the images that were going to be randomly put up were either to incite a fear response or a positive response. So an example of something that might incite fear would be a snake getting ready to strike.
Yep.
And an example of something that would create some sort of positive emotion might be a sunset or a flower or something like that.
No.
So this is a crazy thing. So they did this experiment, and they taught these people to move into this coherent state with the breathing techniques. And what they found was their heart, or basically their body, responded 6 seconds before the image appeared on the screen, before the random image generator appeared on the screen. So this is really interesting. So before the image, I don't know when the computer application chose the image, but the heart and the brain would respond in fear before an image of a snake came up, for example. 6 seconds before, to be exact. And the heart responded first. It went to the brain, and then the brain sent signals down to the gut, and that's what you might call the gut instinct. So this is what they found, which is really interesting. And so it asks the question, does our gut actually know? Does it actually know? And so they say the heart knows, and the brain might be logical. The brain thinks, but the heart knows. That's a term that we sometimes hear. So so they've scientifically proven some type of intuition does exist.
Wow. So the people who have spoken to me saying, damn it, I knew it, I didn't follow through with it. You are not wrong. You did know it. And correct, you did not follow through with it. Vish, why is it that people don't listen to that gut feeling? What happens to us?
Well, we're not used to getting these intuitive hits.
Yeah.
We're used to information coming in through our senses and being processed by the brain, and then we make a decision based on logic. We're not taught, or no one ever talks about receiving information, I don't know, from intuition and processing that as if it was fact as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason we tend not to trust it. We tend not to believe it because it's not coming through the conventional way that we receive information, which is through the five senses.
Yeah. And the workplace doesn't really do any credit to this aspect as well, because we're very data driven. And if I need to make a decision, it has to be based on facts and figures and blah, 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 rather than that gut feel. And I remember, I'm going back to my corporate days. I used to go off gut feel, and I'd put up a business case to my manager based on gut feel, and like all of the reasons why as well, logical reasons. But then it would quickly get rejected because it didn't have the data element to it. So I learned early on to, yes, listen to the gut, don't drop it, but then just add the data and the facts and figures, and then it will get proposed, then it would get approved. So that's the way I found around it. So for other leaders as well, I guess the brain thinks, but the heart feels. What a brilliant.
The heart knows.
Heart knows. Okay, knows. That's even stronger. Yeah. The brain thinks,
it
but
does
the heart
thinking
knows.
and feeling. You're right as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can't always trust our gut, though. It's not always right. That's one of the things as well that I always talk to as a caveat. Don't go off on one with just your gut feeling. Do you have any thoughts in relation to that as well, Vish?
Yeah, I do. I often will ask you, I would ask yourself the question: if you think that you're getting a gut feel, is it coming actually from fear?
Okay.
Or is it coming from a place of neutrality? Because what that study showed us was that these people went into the heart coherent state, which is meaning that the heart is beating in a very orderly way. In terms of the autonomic nervous system, they were switching on, that it meant it was in balance. So coherence means that all the bodily systems are in balance. So we're not in the fight or flight, when we could be more in the rest and digest and homeostasis phase, or state of being. And that amplifies your ability, what they found, to be more intuitive. And they talk about 3 types of intuition. There's, I think, implicit intuition, which they talked about, is to do with information that you might have learnt or seen somewhere, but you can't remember that you've seen it.
Okay. So dormant. It's there.
Yeah. So like example, a nurse, she comes into a room and she sees a patient and she just intuitively knows that this patient is going to, code in a matter of minutes. But how does she know that? It might be because she's seen similar examples, or she gets that as a gut feel based on her past experience. That's what we call implicit intuition.
Okay.
And then they also talk about energetic intuition, which is where, like animals can sense when there is a going to be an earthquake or tsunami, that type of thing, because they can pick up on the Earth's magnetic field. And then they also talk about the non-local intuition, and that's something to do with, like, a parent might have a child somewhere studying overseas and the mother just senses that something could be wrong, and then they pick up the phone. Like, you can't explain that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, they talked about how Steve Jobs talks about following the intuition, following the heart. He talked about it, I think, in the commencement speech at Stanford in 2005, I think it was. I can't remember. But a lot of leaders, business leaders, do actually use their intuition. However, you are right. I don't believe that you should rely solely on it. No. I think what you did was smart, backing up what your intuition said through data. And that's what, I teach people analytics at university as well, and we tell our students the same thing. You can't rely just on gut instinct. You need the data to show exactly, why you think there might be workplace bullying, or why that, why could there be gender inequality, or all of those things that you've got to back it up with data, because you're going to be talking to senior management. And then once you have the data, you can look at maybe evidence-based ways of trying being able to sort of combat those challenges, or to be able to fix those challenges. So
fantastic. There was so much there. Now, one of the things, I'm going to go back. One of the things you said for us to really tune into our gut and trust our gut is for us to be in homeostasis. What is homeostasis, and how do we get into that state?
So, as I said, that term coherence that they use is the actual definition is that all the bodily systems move back into balance or homeostasis. So meaning your cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, all of those, the nervous system, all of those systems in our body are working in a harmonious way.
Aligned. Okay, cool.
Aligned.
Yes.
And so when your brain and your body are in alignment, meaning whatever you're thinking is in alignment with how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's a conflict and there's a lot of energy dissipation when, logically you're told to do something, but inwardly you feel like you don't want to do it. And that creates that dissonance as well. So
right. And this is something the leaders really are faced with because they're bombarded with, things here, there, and everywhere from people that they report to, from people that report to them. So they're that meet in that middle of that big sandwich as well. And it's a tough gig in leadership or management of any sort. So to get into homeostasis, I guess we're all very different. Work out what works for you. Talk to brilliant people like Vish, work out your thing. Once you get into that state, then you can trust yourself a little bit more. You can observe more openly, can't you? And you can make better decisions, judgments. And I guess using discernment, that's a word that's coming up as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we one of the techniques we teach is called the freeze frame technique, and we teach people how to, again, you just go and move into a coherent state, but before you do, you write down and you ask yourself, or what's the situation or what information is it that you might want to know. You move into that coherent state, and then at the end of it, you sort of write down whatever comes to you immediately.
Okay, fresh, no judgment,
just
write it
without your logical mind, and that could give you a hint as to the direction to take. But as I said, and I think as you said as well, I wouldn't say rely solely just on that.
Yeah.
You need to also do your due diligence and also gather the relevant data. But your gut could maybe point you or narrow down the information you might need to gather rather than being it so nebulous. It could gather down or point to the direction of what data do you need.
Okay, so you're really honing in on yourself now. Yeah. Vish, I want to share with you, I'm sharing something really personal now. So I do self-coaching. I applied this to my clients, but I do this myself as well. So I actually tried and tested this on myself years before I actually started applying it to anybody else. So at the end of the week, Vish, I asked myself these questions. And the act of writing, getting stuff out of my head onto paper for me is really eye-opening. In the example that you just gave as well, I think writing is just very freeing without judgment. So the questions I ask myself are, what am I learning this week? How am I right now? And how has my week been? No judgment. What were my wins this week and what has felt like success? What were my challenges and triggers this week and what can I do to mitigate them? And then what do I want to be held accountable for next week? And then I can bullshit myself, so I need to delve deeper. What needs planning? What important things have no action steps attached to them? Do I need help? Do I need to delegate? Who do I need to engage with to make this happen? What is stopping me? How am I going to celebrate when I've achieved what I need to do? So this I religiously do every week because I really find that, being a business owner, I'm busy. I'm in that busy mode all the time. I don't sometimes have the clarity to get to homeostasis just there and then to check in on my gut. Whereas when I do this is only half an hour, by the way, I give myself, because if I overstretch it, then I overthink it. Whereas first thoughts, I just dump them. That has just given me such clarity.
Yeah.
It's just been life-changing.
Yeah.
Honestly so.
I love that. I love it. We often don't take the time to do the self-reflection. But it's so valuable. It's so valuable. And as you said, it doesn't have to be long, that half an hour.
Yeah.
But that's going to give you that return on investment, right? You're going to get so much more out of just investing that short amount of time.
Totally.
for the rest of the week. Yeah.
Yeah. Because without checking in on my week, I just jump onto the next week and the next
Yeah.
week. And then I just feel like, I'm just, this person in a rat race. I don't want to be that person. I chose not to be that person.
Yes,
Right? So, no, that ain't me. So that's my circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Do you have any circuit breakers or any tips that you do for yourself to come back to yourself and to try and trust your gut more as well for yourself, Vish?
Yeah. Like definitely for me, it's meditation.
Yeah.
And I often will, why I love meditation is because it helps me to stop that incessant firing of those neural networks in my brain and just helps to quieten everything down, where it gives my brain a break. It gives my body a break, gives it a chance to move into homeostasis because, it's not creating all those chemicals. So the nervous system can come back into balance.
Yeah.
It energizes me. It gives me clarity. There's been studies that they've recently published about the fact that their brain works more effectively, like it becomes more whole-brained.
Wow.
And there are, numerous benefits where they found, it's creating hormones in the body like DHEA, which is just called the vitality hormone.
Okay.
Which is responsible for growth and repair and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical or physiological benefits, but for me, it's the mental benefits. It keeps me less reactive, more resilient. It keeps me open to, solutions for challenges, being able to communicate better. So it kind of, it puts you in a state where you're open to more possibilities as well.
Yes.
Where you might not have seen those things before.
Yeah, it just opens your vision, doesn't it? Yeah.
And if I can't do a meditation, if I don't have the time, I will do the breathing exercises.
Yep.
Which literally takes 5 minutes. I'll go for walks in nature. I'll do a walking meditation in nature. Or, just something like, if I don't have the time to do that while I'm driving, I'll just do the breathing exercises while I'm driving. So that, last year was pretty much no time for anything except that.
Yeah.
But really important to take that time to do it because, like I said, you can just go into that overwhelm.
Yeah.
And you feel like a rat on a, hamster on a wheel sort of thing. And it's just
not nice.
How we want to feel. Yeah.
Horrible. Now, the thing about meditation, people freak out with like, oh my God, I can't stop my mind. I can't do this. I can't do that. There's a lot of I can'ts. I meditate as well, but I have a monkey mind, I tell you. My mind is all over the place. The intention is not to stop your mind. The intention is just, for me anyway, try to stop whatever's happening. If a thought comes, treat it like a cloud and just let it go. Don't attach yourself to that thought. So that's the work that I try to do in my meditation anyway. Thoughts will come, but thoughts will go. And that's the beauty of it. Vish, what about yourself from a meditation perspective? Do you have any tips or any, tricks for people?
Yeah, so I think you're right. The more that you try to stop thoughts or whatever, it's just going to create more agitation and defeat the whole purpose of you meditating.
Yeah.
Some of the tricks that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches us is to try and open your focus. So basically open your awareness to the space around you, basically as you open up your awareness to nothing, which is when you're closing your eyes.
Which is everything, yeah.
It starts to slow the brain waves down and starts to slow the activity in the neocortex.
Okay.
And then the energy starts to move into the limbic brain, where is the seat of the autonomic nervous system, and it starts to create order and harmony. And that, I think Buddhist monks also use a similar technique by opening the focus. You're not putting your attention on anything, no object, because normally we're habitually thinking about objects and things and people.
Yeah, right.
And, that the same premise can be said about the heart-focused breathing, where you put your attention on the heart and it's no longer on things and people. You're just literally just putting your attention in that center of your chest and breathing. That's it.
Amazing.
The other thing is going out into nature, which is nature is a beautiful way to do it with your eyes open, because, for example, going to the beach, there's nothing to see except the vast ocean and the blue sky. And you're not putting attention on anything. There's no objects or things. It's just the blue sky. and the vast ocean, naturally that starts to bring your brain waves down into alpha waves, which is the creative state, and starting to bring your body back into homeostasis. So being in nature is a great way to do it as well.
So many tips there. Okay. Have we missed anything before I summarize, Vish?
I don't
In
think so.
terms of trusting your gut more? No? Okay. So we all, listeners, need to check out the Heart Math Institute. Vish, I'm going to put your details. I'm going to put the Heart Math Details Institute in the show notes as well. I think there's lots of studies there.
And Neurochange Solutions, that's where they take the information from. Yeah.
Okay. Neurochange Solutions. What else? The brain thinks, but the heart knows. Can we just remember that? So do trust your gut more. So people who have spoken to me about trusting your gut, do it. It is okay. But remember to balance it with facts and statistics as well, because we do work in a workplace and we still have to prove certain things. The study that Vish actually shared, which just broke my brain, by the way, 6 seconds before the image was even shown. I don't know if you heard that, audience. 6 seconds prior to the image being shown of a snake or whatever, people had that fear response. So they had that gut instinct of, oh my God, something scary is going to happen. So there's something within us that is, pretty amazing, but we haven't tapped into properly yet. So trust your gut. Okay, we do have it within us. And there's different types of intuition. There's implicit intuition, which is that dormant kind of intuition that we have. Energetic intuition. And the beautiful way that Vish described it is animals, or if there's going to be a storm, you can really see the birds, going wild, something's going to happen. Or the non-local intuition. And I have completely felt that one from my mum, where I'll get a phone call like, Prina, what's wrong with you? I said, Mom, what do you think? What's happened? She said, yeah, I know you're not well. There's just something there. So trust your gut, okay? This is all true. Vish, thank you so much for bringing something that may sound like woo-woo to a lot of people to real practical terminology and knowledge and data that we can understand. I'm going to put my self-coaching notes and details and everything into the show notes as well. So anyone, if you want to reach out to Vish, please, her details are in the show notes. Go for it. Vish, I cannot thank you enough. This has just blown my mind yet again.
Thanks so much, Prina. I really enjoyed our chats, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
It's been the best.
If you like this episode, check out the show notes and sign up to my newsletter. That will help your workplace to be less shitty. It's full of novel ideas, good food for thought. And if you like this episode, pass it on to at least 2 people who will benefit. That's your good deed done for the day. Also, remember to subscribe to the Ways to Change Your Workplace podcast via your podcast provider, and I will see you in the next episode.